Wonderful. Creating the live broadcast. And here we are. All right, moms. Happy May. Happy Monday. I hope you are doing well tonight. Of course, my beautiful friend Tangela Reed is here, and we're here to talk about human resources for moms by moms. Tonight's topic is
managing your one-on-one with your manager.
Yeah, this was a topic that came up last time, just kind of off of our last conversation where we talked about, wait, what was our topic last time?
We were talking about salary negotiation last
I
time.
thought so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then we got into this topic of like managing your career and all that good stuff. And we decided that maybe the next topic should be how do you leverage your weekly or biweekly one-on-ones, basically when you get together with your manager.
Right.
For you to like drive those conversations,
right,
and really align with your manager to get the outcome you want. Right. Tangela, tell me why you feel like this is important. This is an important topic.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of take on their jobs as just something to do, right? So yay, I got the job, I'm in the role, and then I kind of do my day-to-day and just kind of go on autopilot. And if you are serious about your career and if you do want to see some upward mobility, you want to work in other spaces, you want to negotiate a salary, you want to, I think the topic, one of the takeaways from the last one was kind of to talk about improve your value. Your one-on-one with your manager can help you to build that rapport, to help kind of facilitate all of those things.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good topic because we get, like you said, we get into these positions and then we kind of I don't know, it's very easy to kind of just be on the receiving side of things and not realize you actually have a lot of power in creating what you want to get out of it. So say you come in motivated employee and you're like, I want to just nail this job. And at the end of the day, I really do feel like most people want to feel fulfilled in their jobs, because it helps everybody go home and rest easier at night when you know, like, man, you know, I nailed it. Who doesn't want to feel like that, right? And so we're going to make that assumption that most employees do that. They want to thrive in their positions. And so tonight we'll talk about some ways that you can do that by way of your check-ins. Now, I'll go first and tell you my experience with check-ins with my managers.
Okay.
Corporate America taught me, whether it's weekly or biweekly, checking in with your manager, create an agenda. The employee creates the agenda, right? And it should be kind of updates on everything you're responsible for, in addition to any questions you need answered, any kind of like sign off you need from your manager. It's basically also a dumping ground for like, hey, if I couldn't connect with my manager this whole week or 2 weeks, I'm going to put it on this list to make sure I can move forward with my work by using our check-in to get everything off my to-do list. And so that's really what I was taught and kind of what I use to this day to do things. And I try to make it as easy as possible. Obviously, it really, you have to flex sometimes to people's personality. They like information in a certain way versus another, right? Some people want data. Some people are just like, okay with you not having an agenda. But again, if you're at the forefront of your goal and what you want to do with your career, you're maximizing that opportunity with your boss, with your manager, to not only remove any obstacles you have in your way, but also to flex, to kind of soft flex on how great and outstanding you are. So really letting that be the purpose of the conversation, instead of just like, oh yeah, so that's done, the audit's done, and yeah, I'm able to do that, right? But like, be a beast. It's your opportunity where you could be a beast. You can even go as far as like, what's something I can take off your plate? Like if you're trying to wow somebody, right, and just like get them silent, right, to let them know you're ready for what's next. It can all happen in these conversations. And so what has been your experience? How have you been taught kind of to show up in those check-ins.
Yeah, I mean, you hit everything on the nail. So absolutely come with an agenda. So I find that managers on both ends, there's some discomfort in having one-on-ones. And that's why I think it's important, because it's easy to get into that routine. And a lot of managers have not been trained to be people managers. And this is the place where it becomes obvious, like you got this one-on-one half hour or hour, whatever it is on your agenda, and nobody knows what to talk about. So yes, set an agenda. And I think it will even help your manager and make him or her feel more comfortable that you are prepared for that discussion. But not only being prepared, but it helps you to be able to put the things that you want to talk about ahead of even understanding or hearing what they have to say. So yes, absolutely set an agenda. So that one you hit right on the nose. The soft flex, I love it. The hard flex is even better, right? Especially for moms, especially for women. We talked about this the last time when we talked about salary negotiation, but it can be very difficult to talk about yourself. It can be uncomfortable to give yourself praise and acknowledgement. And this is absolutely a time to go over, you know, that project I was working on, these were the results. This is what happened last week, if, you know, they're not already aware. So yep, completely agree with that one. What else did you say? Get some sign off. So yeah, these are the spaces where you got your manager's attention. You both are probably very busy. Sign-offs and things like that can be done where you kind of just pile them up and get them in front of him or her at that time. You said ask questions. That piece I really like as well, because sometimes you're going through your day-to-day. I know sometimes I feel like, yo, what is happening around this place? In a remote space especially, it's even harder to get the pulse on what's happening around the company, and your manager may be more aware of things that are happening, you know, above your level with wider groups. So definitely asking questions, but also asking about where things are headed for you, right? So to tap back into managing your career and kind of guiding this whole thing, you're talking to your manager about projects and what's happening right then and there. You're getting sign-offs. It's all like relevant and current, but your one-on-ones with your manager is also a way to kind of manage your career, get a feel for how your performance is, what they're feeling about the updates that you're giving them, right? Is all of this stuff relevant? Like, you're giving an update on a project. Is she or he excited about that? Do they even care? If they don't, you might want to pivot, right? Because maybe that's not the priority, or maybe that's not what you should be concerned about. And hopefully they'll tell you that, but pick up on those cues around if you're working on things that are relevant and pushing things forward. What else did you say? It's a dumping ground to put it on a list. Yeah, you hit it all on the nail, Cindy.
But you're right, though. The one thing, like one of the things I didn't mention was the whole like alignment of priorities, because when we get a job, sometimes we can really get after it and see it how we see it, and already kind of like project managed it to perfection. But that constant alignment, I have found, is really important, because what is super important right now at the beginning of the month, it can change. And to almost manage your own expectations, because who doesn't like to hear you know, or who likes to hear rather that like what you have already like masterfully put together to win, somebody's gonna be like, oh, so we're not doing that anymore, right? And you're like, and you almost get mad, and you still want to do it anyway because you already, you know, sold out to that idea. And so constant alignment is just always important. So even if it's like a project that you know is going to be happening at the end of the month, every week still say, so here's where we're at. Everything look good to you? One of my managers once told me in HR, this is going to sound crazy, but he was like, make people lie to you. Like, basically always ask them, are you good with this? Like, does this sound right to you?
Right.
So much so that if they're like, yeah, and it wasn't that answer, you basically lied. So don't tell me we're not still working on such and such project, because last Monday when I checked in with you, you said, yeah, you know, which is, it just sounds funny, but I found it to be good, because you constantly have to check with people. And depending on who your manager is, like I said, personalities vary so much. And I pray that if you are watching this, you have a good manager and you have had a good manager, especially with the last year that we've had. But there are some tweaks that you have to do based on what they want to see. Some managers are very hands off, and then other ones want to know every single detail, right? So then I end up creating like reports or living documents that report out on all of the projects, so that when I do go and update every week, it's already updated. The reports are already updated. I don't have to like reinvent the wheel every time. So it really depends.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a couple of good points there, right? The part that I think that helps with people feel motivated. Every time you interview someone, every time I interview someone and ask them about the type of manager that they like, no one wants a micromanager, and this one-on-one helps to kind of create some trust on both sides. So like you talked about that living document, maybe you guys don't even have to talk about your projects because you're constantly updating in an app like Monday or some type of, you know, project management, or even like a SharePoint or something like that. So you develop this rapport, you develop this kind of known cycle between the two of you so that you stay up to date. A lot of people don't like to share information, but I think it helps teams to really know what's happening all the time. And sometimes, especially when you're joining a new team, it can feel like your manager may want you to overshare, or they may be micromanaging, but really they're trying to make sure they're doing their job well. They're trying to make sure all the parts are working together, and they want to make sure everyone is working on the right things at the right time. So I think the piece around this one-on-one also helps you to stay focused and motivated, and have some loyalty to this company as well, because when you're working on things that are valuable, you know that they're contributing to the bottom line, or they're contributing to your team being more productive, it just makes you feel good. Yeah, I think you mentioned it at the beginning, like when you could do that soft flex, and hopefully it's a flex that everyone values, right? Because sometimes you're just all the way off. And again, that's the reason why these one-on-ones are important, so that you stay on task. You stay on task. And after this year, it's you have to be agile, right? Like you cannot get stuck on, okay, I already project planned the mess out of this thing, so we are not switching. We will go in this section and we will get it done bit by bit by bit, right? My Gantt chart tells me no. It just doesn't work for most places, because that flexibility is required, and it helps you to be a better person. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but you get my point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the weekly check-in with your manager, make it benefit you, not just your manager, is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the other thing I was going to say? I love the part that you mentioned, basically like with the soft flex, but maybe making it common and okay to say, hey, this happened, I feel good about it. Like I felt like I won there. You know what I mean? And let that be also a normal conversation. Constructive or feedback doesn't always have to be when you miss, you know, the shot, but it could also be like when you nailed it, right? And instead of waiting for them to give you those compliments, maybe you
Yep.
could say, you know, a proud moment I had was when Tracy came over and she was upset and bothered because of such and such. And what I decided to do is just lean into our friendship and just say X, Y, and Z. And I kind of felt proud about that in that moment. Would you agree? Or like just ask, open
Yep.
the door to feedback.
Yep.
Because remember, these are data points for them. Now, if they're a really busy manager, as I have found
Yep.
sometimes, like you're creating the data points that they see. So you want to make
Right.
sure that all those data points that they see, what are they going to remember? It's kind of like marketing, the commercials
Yes.
that are going to come through. Which ones are they going to remember? And you want to make sure that they remember your wins and not just hear updates, but like
Yep.
prove more than likely you have good stuff. It's just not being, you know, probably given enough attention. And so
Right.
it's your duty to advocate for yourself and give yourself a lot of attention, to be on the campaign for like, I'm nailing it.
That's right. So that, I mean, you hit on a key point. Like when I think about people that I've witnessed be promoted, it's not typically the person that's in the corner saying, I'm working so hard. And they may be working really hard and on point, right? Like they're executing, they're accurate, they are producing things that are valuable to the company, but they're quietly producing, right? And this is where the whole inclusion thing becomes really important, because a lot of times what we've seen is praise and promotion for those people who are very vocal about their accomplishments. And everyone's not that way, but I think at least in corporate spaces that I've been a part of, it's important to be the squeaky wheel. It's important to kind of, not in a way that you're complaining, but in a way that you're advocating for yourself. And just like you said, this is a marketing tool for you. So you're talking about updates, you're talking about you're getting your questions answered, but you're also talking about those highlights, whether it's behavioral, like the way you highlighted an instance where someone can be a great team member, or if it's actually related to a project that you're working on. Your manager may be so busy, they don't even know what you've done. So let them know what you've done. And that will contribute to your year-end performance, which will contribute to your case around why you should get your salary that you're going to negotiate based on those last 5 points that we left.
100%. And another thing, speaking of like the soft flex and your wins, on the other side, mention where you feel like you struggled, there were obstacles, maybe you missed the mark, because I think once we can normalize that too, it makes it a safer space to be like, oh yeah, I'm human just like everybody else, right? And I feel like sometimes there's every week you're like, I hope like they only have good things to say, and all that stuff. But if we can normalize a struggle, normalize like, so I am stumped here, or like, actually I'm drowning, hopefully we can get to that point where it's like people are just like, it's a bit more normal for people to say, I actually need support on this. Could Tom help me out? So I'm thinking like, if blah, 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 and kind of make it not such a taboo topic to talk about, and just kind of like problem solve needing extra support.
So this is what's so valuable about the point you're making here. When you kind of become vulnerable, it allows other people to go there with you. So your manager may be thinking like, oh, Cindy is stuck. I don't know what she's doing, but it's uncomfortable to give critical feedback. So a lot of times managers do not do it. You will sit there, you will be stuck, and they will not say a word. And many managers struggle with poor performers sitting on their team for years. They don't say anything, but they don't raise your salary. You will not see a promotion. And as soon as it's an opportunity, they will chop you. That's just how it works. So letting someone know that you're stuck, and you even take it a step further, you also offered a solution. Like, oh, I was thinking maybe Tom could help me. Or, you may even want to go speak to a team member to get unstuck if your manager is not the best first option. But I think that's a really valuable point, because a lot of people are uncomfortable with giving critical feedback. And when you just kind of let your guard down, realize that you're not going to get fired for being stuck. Your manager is there, hopefully, because we do have some bad managers out there, but your manager is there to kind of bring you into the fold and help you to be productive, because it only means better things for the entire team. So I really like that point.
Yeah, I like that too. The piece that you just said. I think it's just really important, because you are so right. This is again where I think people can understand the power that they have in these conversations. Your manager may have the title that is higher on the org chart or whatever, but you as an individual in that conversation you are the catalyst, right, on how it can go. And if, like you said, if you're vulnerable first, it invites them to be a bit more vulnerable, right? It's kind of like students in classes. Teachers gravitate, I think, towards kids who are like trying really hard and doing their best and asking for help, right? Versus like those who are just like, whatever, I'm gonna just do what I'm gonna do, whether you like it or not, right? So I think it is very important to just be vulnerable. Speaking of, it's a great opportunity, whether you like this person or not, to just build common ground and connection. Now, I definitely felt like I've had to do this even when I was like, yeah, I wouldn't kick it with them outside of this, right? But it is an opportunity to create common ground and just connect with your manager, because the better relationship you guys have together, all the other stuff gets a lot easier. So we've already talked about, they're probably, we don't know, just because somebody's a manager doesn't mean that they've been trained to be a good manager or know what they are doing. So number one, we have to understand they might not. Two, that you have power in your weekly check-ins or bi-weekly check-ins with your manager to not only update them on tasks, but also to flex, do your soft flex and show your wins, be vulnerable, and share with your manager the obstacles and get support. And lastly, I think, we see it done all the time, this whole networking piece, creating deeper connection. That's how a lot of things like flow afterwards. So ask them about the kids, or they like biking. Did you bike yesterday? Even if you don't want to, I mean, I've done it myself. Like, okay, let me spend the first however many minutes asking them about this, even though I really may not want to, but trying intentionally to build a good relationship.
Yeah. And I think all those things make the conversation easier, right? Like for people that I don't know, the weather is a very easy topic, right? It's raining, it's sunny, I feel good today. How was your weekend? That kind of small talk. Even if you don't know what your manager does, like he or she is a person. So just that's what it is. And I think you talked about like the titles. And I feel like when people are interviewing, they do the same thing. They kind of put themselves in this box of, oh, please, I hope they like me, versus I hope we have great dialogue. I hope this is a match where I can see myself being productive and adding to this team. I hope this is something that we can do together. The titles don't matter. And I think the titles create this uncertainty. It creates this like nervousness. It creates a bunch of things that hopefully your one-on-ones will start to break down if you're able to be a little vulnerable, and also kind of drive it with your agenda. I wanted to just make one other point around the actions. You talked about it a little bit, but I do think it's important to, as you have your agenda and you have your conversations with your manager, you want to make sure you're stating what you plan to do next. So what's your commitment coming out of that meeting? So that one, you state out loud what it is that you're working on, but also that would be the point where your manager's nodding his head or her head, or they're like, okay. You're picking up on the body language and the unspoken things around what you're working on. So I think it's important to state what it is that you are committing to doing coming out of that meeting. And if you're meeting on a regular basis, that will help you to stay on target and on task.
Yeah, I love that. You're so right. So before you leave any meeting, I would say, I always tell people, okay, what are our to-dos though? We didn't just talk for 45 minutes and then it's going to stay here. That's not what's going to happen, right? But what are our to-dos? And then to your point, that alignment piece is really important, because sometimes, certain managers can just give you a lot of things in between your weekly check-ins. And you're like, wait, I just told them I'm working on A, B, and C, and they're over here with D and F. How do they expect me to do all this, right? And so that's when I always push it back to them, like, hey, this sounds exciting, but so if you can help me prioritize my time, because I'm still doing A, B, and C, do you want me to take one of those away and do E and F?
Right.
Push it back on them.
Right. I mean, and see, the other thing about that is agreement around deadlines. right? And it can be informal or very formal. But what you pointed out is if you're walking into your check-in and you have some deadlines that are overflowing between your last meeting and this one, hopefully you guys do have some conversations around priority, because that's super important.
I love that. That was a piece we like totally did not say at first, but it's absolutely necessary. I think
Yep.
my last ad will be asking for feedback, like ways that you can grow. Because in an ideal situation, this is your coach.
Yep.
Okay, this is like Phil Jackson to MJ. That's your person, for better or for worse, who is going to give you feedback. And sometimes we have to tweak things in order to be successful with that person. But at the end of the day, that person is there for feedback. And so figure out what to them means success. You can ask that question. So let me just ask you, John, if I nailed this and like out of the ballpark, what would that look like? What would success look like to you? Just curious, right? So understand people's definition of success is really important.
I agree. So, I mean, we talked about a bunch of things, and I just want to kind of separate the two goals and objectives, right? When you're meeting with your manager for your one-on-one, right? You have a day-to-day job to do. You want to make sure you're on task. You want to come in with that agenda so that you can make sure you're aligned with the priorities your manager has, and then the things that you're putting your focus on. Not the entire point, but that side is productivity. Like, how valuable are you being? How effective are you being in your seat that you're occupying at this firm? The other side of it is your personal growth. So that piece, I feel like you can use most of your meetings, your one-on-one meetings, to check in on the day-to-day, check in on how you're aligning with the overall goals. But then at least once a quarter, you want to check in a pretty formal way around how you're doing from a performance standpoint, and then also checking in on the long-term goals that you have around your career and how the seat that you're in right now relates to that. So two different sides: the personal, and then how productive you are in your actual job.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. Quarterly, and if you've been there for years, I just did a 2 year like check-in with one of my employees, just talking about 2 years in total, right? Because this last year with COVID, I mean, that was a mess, right?
Different.
So, but when you think about performance, right, people want to know how they're doing. So anyway, I love that. I think that was it for me. Any other points you wanted to mention?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered them all. You guys know, hopefully, if you've been joining us for the last couple of talks, I think it's important for you to take the reins when it comes to your career, right? Make sure you're driving things in a way that is productive for you personally and that adds value to the firm. So make these one-on-ones your meetings, so that you're able to understand how you can impact the business, but also how the business will be able to add value to your bottom line.
I love that. Absolutely. Take the reins. I love it. Well, moms, thank you for joining us. The first Monday of every month, we get together for the HR Corner for moms by moms. We will take any questions you have. If you have topics for us to cover, just let us know. You could always DM us. But essentially, we just wanted to create a safe space and a free space for working moms to ask, or not even non-working moms. You might want to get back into something, or you may be dealing with something else related to HR. You can ask us. We're two HR professionals here to support you and make sure that you thrive in all of your situations. And we know that sometimes dealing with the HR, we know ourselves. We know it could be overwhelming, and it could be, just not knowing the system can be very frustrating. And so hopefully by us being a resource to you, we can alleviate some of the stress for that. Because I don't know about you, but once I got on this side of the game, I was like, you know what? Nobody ever told me about this on this side of the table. And I was just like, I'm gonna tell everybody about this so that they're not so stuck, right? And just like, out of the power position, because we don't know anything.
That's right.
All right,
Awesome.
cool.
Well, thank you.
Thank you again for your time. I love you so much.
I love you too, Cindy.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.